Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
Whitetail Rendezvous is pleased to announce a partnership with GoHunt.com. Who's GoHunt.com? Well, if you're a DIY hunter, you need the information at GoHunt.com/insider. Why? Because it provides 4,200 profiles, every unit, every species, and every season. Furthermore, they give in-depth analysis, interactive maps, unit access, and seasonal trends. Draw odds are very important, and they give you the most accurate information in the business. All this is available when you go to GoHunt.com/insider. Make sure you use promo code WR when you join Insider. You'll get a $50 gift card for GoHunt.com Gear Shop. Remember, when you become a member of GoHunt.com/insider, you're going to get a $50 gift card to Go Hunt Gear Shop. What's in the gear shop? The best gear that you can buy for hunting the West. All in all, if you're hunting out West in 2018, GoHunt.com/insider is where you need to be to get all the research information. When you use promo code WR, Whitetail Rendezvous receives a small commission from GoHunt.com. Hey, folks, we got a new sponsor. It's called Buckwild Coffee. What's so special about Buckwild Coffee? Well, a gazillion people go to Starbucks every day and drink coffee. Well, why shouldn't Buckwild Coffee offer you light, medium, or dark roast with free shipping? All you have to do is go to whitetailrendezvous.com, go to shop, and order your coffee, and I'll ship it out for free. Hey, thanks so much for visiting Buckwild Coffee. The best brew in the West, the best brew around the campfire, the best brew in the hunting shack, the best brew anywhere. Buckwild Coffee. Get yours today. Hey, folks, this is Bruce Hutchin, and I'm with Christopher James, also known a.k.a. as CJ, and he's a writer, an author, a DIY hunter, an extreme wilderness fanatic, a fitness person, and he's an overcomer. He's faced adversity in his life, and he's living proof no matter what happens, how bad it seems at the time, you can overcome it and move forward. CJ's from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and he fishes the Bow River, which if you've never been on the Bow, you should fish the Bow.
It's a wonderful, wonderful water body. I mean, our rainbows and brown trouts are blue ribbon level. The growth rates are huge. We'll have a 4 or 5 inch or 4 or 5 year old trout that's measuring at like 21 inches, and there's thousands of them in any stretch of the Bow. It's if you get a chance to come into my neck of the woods, let me know, and I'll be happy to take you out. It's just a wonderful, wonderful water body. I'm very lucky to have grown up on it.
Yeah, and it's all that and more. And CJ, be a lion outdoors. Let's just we were just on Facebook Live, folks, and you can go there right. It's May 30th, and so it's sitting out there on Facebook Live. But we talked about being a lion outdoors, and what does that really mean? Let's start off the show and unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, it's usually the first question that people really ask me when it comes to sitting down and talking is, why did you choose a lion? And why did you go about with that name and that handle? I mean, it could have been anywhere from, main event with a play on the word outdoors. It could have been, Mufasa hunting exploits. It could have been kind of anything. And the way that I kind of landed on Be a Lion Outdoors is you look at a lion, whether you're watching it through Planet Earth or you're on the Discovery Network or the zoo, or you're in Africa if you're fortunate enough to do that and actually go on a safari. You look at a lion and it's a mysterious animal, right? But you know what it's all about. It's out there. It oversees everything. It leads its pride and it leads its pack with a quiet, reserved strength. I mean, you know when you look at a lion, it's powerful and it's a force to be reckoned with, but it's very majestic as well, and it's very strong and it's very determined. And that kind of resonated with me, and I kind of always have. I look at a lion, and it kind of it's how I want to represent myself as a human being. It's always been kind of my favorite animal. It's kind of what I fell on, but the voice of a lion, it resonates very, very strongly with me in the fact that you don't mess with it, but it won't go right out there and hurt you. It's relentless, and that's how I kind of conduct my own business, and that's how I try and live my day, not only in the woods but also in my own personal life and in my day to day job. Is you want to be quiet and stoic, but you want to have that determination to go out there and get things done when you need to. So I landed on Be a Lion Outdoors as kind of a motivating reminder from primarily myself, um, to go out there and be that lion, to go out there and be that leader that sometimes people need, to go out there and provide for the people that rely on you, to go out there and teach the young what they need to do to survive in any situation, but to also fight for what you want to achieve and what you want to accomplish. That to me is kind of how it all wrapped up. I was going back and forth and trying to figure out a name, and it just always kept saying to myself, go out there, CJ, be a lion, come on, James, you know what you're doing, right? Be that lion, and that just kind of stuck. So it kind of rolled into that there. I rebranded, and it's my goal is to try and get as many people out there being lions.
Now, we talked about in the warm up about your early football exploits and living on the ranch and all those type of things. You've always been a guy that's mixed it up and been a leader. I mean, because ranching, you have to just go out and get it done. I mean, nobody's going to tell you, what needs to be done. You just go and do it. As a linebacker in the football team, a lot of times you or the safety are calling the plays, calling formations, calling, the scheme and all that sort of stuff. And so everything in your life has kind of gotten you to today, it seems.
Yeah, it kind of has. I mean, I was fortunate enough as far as the ranching goes. My family's pretty well documented in the Alberta historical records, for example. My great great grandfather came across on the railway. He settled. He started just working on a ranch just outside of Delacour, and eventually he expanded and he grew the family. And we ended up having over 100,000 acres from Saskatchewan to the BC border. The largest cattle producer in Canada for a while, and for a little bit in the northwestern states, was the family brand XL Beef. Throughout the years, obviously our ranch has kind of been cut back, but the lineage is still there. So McKinnon Flats in Kananaskis is named after my family. There's books in museums and photos that are kind of named after the family. There's scholarships through Olds College through the family. It was bred into me, and when we settled out here, you had to hunt and you had to fish and you had to be a leader and you had to go out there and kind of like you said, get things done. Multiple people relied on you, not just through your family, but also your community. And then I was fortunate enough to kind of have that built into me from a very young age. My granddad took my dad out fishing, and there's a little spot, I don't know if you're familiar with it, called CB Dam, and it's just kind of right in the Rocky Mountains. My dad took me out there fishing quite a bit and took me to his old spot that he used to go with his granddad. But he always had me pack my own things in and out. And that could be 3, 4, 5 years old. He, for lack of a better term, beat it into me because what 3-year-old wants to be walking around with rods and lunch kits and tackle boxes? I was that 3-year-old. And I just ate it up and loved it. And I've kind of always been that ability to lead people. That transferred into football. I mean, I started playing football at a pretty young age. They wanted me to get into baseball first, and for some reason I kept sliding into every base, even if I didn't have to. And they tried me in a bunch of different sports. Hockey was, being Canadian, ironically, that was one that's kind of blasphemous that I didn't play. But I got into football and initially kind of right away led the teams. I won Coaches Award in my first year as being recognized by the coaches and the team. Won Rookies of the Year. I've won All-Star Awards. I've been scholarship offered. And I wasn't the best football player. I mean, by any stretch of the imagination. I was not pro level, you could say. But it was the ability to motivate and inspire. And that's something that I take very much pride in the ability that I could listen to a person and get them amped up about something. I can get darned if I don't try and fix it. I'll lead the masses. Even in my day job, I lead a very large team, and it's rewarding to hear people come up to me and say, you know what, you're the best that I've ever had. If you go anywhere, I'm following you. It just kind of comes natural for me. I know that some people have to work at it, and I definitely do as well. But the leadership side of it is something that I think as outdoorsmen and women, we need to really reflect upon. There's a lot of, for lack of a better term, sheep that are kind of in the world, and I think the social media frenzy, which is ironic that we just did a Facebook Live and that we met through Instagram and social media, but everybody's connected to their phones and connected to their devices that they're afraid to look up, and they just kind of follow the masses. There needs to be more outdoor leaders out there. You know, Bruce Hutchison's, Cam Haines, Brandon Waddell's, Britt Gills. We need more advocates and more spokesmen, and I hope that I'm able to do that through my stories and through my ability to be real and still help people get excited about things. It doesn't have to be hunting. It doesn't have to be fishing. It could just be going outside and sitting in your backyard. I want to motivate people to be excited about the outdoors again, and that's my platform.
The thing I know in my own life, the best lessons I've learned are out of doors.
Yeah.
You know, and we mentioned this on Facebook Live. When you leave your truck that you're going to get back to your truck.
Absolutely.
You don't know what shape you're going to be in, what day it's going to be, whether you got game with you or not. But you have that confidence in you. And see, I think a lot of people don't. And I don't know how they're going to get that except go out and get mentored and spend the time and get up against it. So let's talk a little bit now about adversity and how you overcame the adversity in your life. And yeah, folks, we're going to talk about hunting, but this is important too, because, without people like CJ sharing things, then you won't grasp what the outdoors is all about, in my opinion.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there, Bruce. You kind of touched on confidence there, and I was not a confident kid. I was kind of that weird hick kid that nobody really wanted to spend time with, that nobody really, I don't want to say took seriously, but that nobody really looked twice at. Football for me was that outlet. There's not a lot of people out there hunting and fishing when I was growing up. In the ranch area, absolutely, but in high school and junior high, there was not a lot of people that were out there doing it. So football was my outlet. It was kind of my way to really fit in. And, having played for many, many years and poured my everything into it, it broke my heart when it was taken away during one game, and I actually fractured my C2 vertebrae. It went misdiagnosed for about a season, but it was my senior year, and that was the year that I was getting kind of blue chip to go down. And in Canada, playing in the States was a very big deal, especially if you got pulled down as a scholarship offer. So I went down and I had scholarship opportunities, and I had scouts coming out and talking to me and talking to my family. And I initially thought I just kind of tweaked my neck a little bit, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But then when I started going through my medicals, I found out that I got a C2 or a hangman's fracture, because it's the same one that a noose breaks when you're executing somebody. And that was it. Everything disappeared for me from a football standpoint, and everything kind of crumbled around me. That was my voice for many, many years, because I didn't really have one that people took seriously. It was my outlet. I've always been kind of that outcast, eclectic kid that's out there hunting and fishing and making knives out of things and opening locks with beer cans. But the football is the one that I fit in. And like I said, it kind of crashed down on me, and it all disappeared. And I felt like I kind of lost my voice. But I went into the woods, and we kind of touched on it. The woods are relentless. They didn't know what I've been through. They didn't know who I was. They didn't know anything about me. And I've always been out in the woods, and I've always been a hunter and a fisherman, and always camped. But the first time that I went out after my injury, something changed and something really clicked. It was more therapeutic for me at that point, as opposed to just going out and I got to get a buck. I got to go out there and catch as many walleyes as I can. I got to go fish that Bow River. For me, now it was more meditative. I was still going out there, and I was still hunting whitetail and elk and moose and bear. I was still going out there and tracing trout and carp and sturgeon, but it was more about being at that point. And I felt like I found my voice again through the outdoors. The minute I stepped out of my truck, I felt at peace. I mean, I was so frenetic for a while and didn't know if I was ever going to find that voice again or find that sense of being until I got back out there and walked. And I didn't carry anything. I had, just a little collapsible 5.5 foot fishing pole with a jig on it. And I just went and walked and didn't even wet a line. It brought me back to what's really important. Nobody cares about my football background. Nobody cares about who I was in high school. Nobody really cares about that. But the woods are something that we always care about and something that I was born and raised in. I was raised in the shadows of the Rocky Mountains. That to me was home. And that is something that I want people to remember me by is not only did I face that adversity and I could have been in a wheelchair, I could have lost my sense of voice, I could have died. I want people to realize that it's bigger than you are, right? And I kind of touched on it earlier, the woods being nondescript, right? The woods will never pick on you, but they will beat you down. The woods don't care what you look like, who you are, what your background is. You're just another person to them, able to experience it and able to touch and feel and smell and harvest bounty. But you got to be prepared. You got to be humble, and you got to be able to go out there and respect it. And that's something that the woods can only teach you. And I think for those of us that spend a lot of our days, especially in winters, going out there and chasing an animal, especially in the Rocky Mountains, and I don't know where you're at, Bruce, but my winters are brutal. This winter alone, I had about 4 feet of snow in my front driveway that just melted. You need to have that toughness, and I thought I had that with football, but I didn't. I owe a lot of my strength and my backbone to the woods for sure.
Yeah, I live in Colorado. I've lived on and off in Colorado since 1985. So the mountains, they don't care who you are, and I agree exactly. Just what you said about the woods. The mountain could care less. They'll take the best you got, and if that's all you got, that's all you got. The mountains, it's just like the first time I flew into Alaska to get dropped off on a sandbar. I said, this place can kill me,
Yeah.
literally flat out kill you. And so that that puts your respect level up, and it changes who you are in relative to the whole scheme of things. And all of a sudden you realize, holy right, I better have my A game, and or they might be flying me out of here in pieces.
Exactly.
That could.
And it's not just the animals that could kill you in a lot of these mountains. I mean, it's not a moose, it's not a black bear that's going to take you. It's going to be the mountain. If anything is going to beat you first, it is going to be that chunk of rock that you're climbing on or the water that you're walking on. It's going to be the actual environment way before the animals will.
Yeah, and just in Colorado, we get a lot of dead trees because of beetle bark, and every year people this time of year will come back and they'll post deer, elk, game, but then their neck's been snapped by a tree falling over there, wrong place, wrong time, wind, boom, and people don't realize that danger in high winds. I mean, lodgepole pine lets go, you better not be under it or you're no more.
Well, absolutely, or big elm cracks, or we got a lot of poplars out here, and those things have roots that are just absolutely horrible. But they'll bust your ankle up, and if you're not able to get out there, then you better start praying or start hobbling.
Both. That brings us. Let's talk about bushcraft a little bit. I was going to do that later in the show, but that's a perfect segue. People have lost that ability of bushcraft. So let's jump right into that right now, and let's talk about surviving, being in the woods on a mountain, and what you need to know as far as bushcraft. Obviously, we could go, we could put a course together about bushcraft, and but we're not going to on the show. But let's hit some things that people really need to have, on them or in their brain before they, really leave the truck.
Right off the get-go, you got to have that confidence. I mean, you could have all the survival training in the world. If you don't have that confidence, you're not going to make it. I was a self-taught survivalist. There was no wilderness school. There was no scouts. I mean, I did scouts for about 3 weeks and got tired of selling popcorn. So I got out of that and kind of just went out and got lost and tried to figure things out myself. And, I had my old anything, and I'll have a flintstone and a knife and see what happens. I froze. I probably got about 200 yards out and went, I can't do this. I froze up, and we kind of circle back to that adversity, and you had to tell yourself, you're like, yeah, you can. You can't let this beat you, or else it's going to continue to beat you. I could be sitting on a herd of elk, and that could just give out, at my tree stand, and I could fall, and I need to find a way to get out of there. I needed that confidence builder. So the most important thing I think for your listeners would be to be confident in your abilities, and if you're not, fake it till you make it. I mean, you'll be amazed of what your own willpower will do if you're forced into that situation, whether it's fight, flight, or freeze. Your body will try and tell you to get out of there, and it's just having that wherewithal and kind of a common sense to go out there. I mean, don't sleep near a riverbed, right? If you find a bear den, don't crawl into it. I mean, there's a lot of common sense items, but obviously there is a lot of the skills for sure. Right off the get-go, the one that I kind of preach the most would be the rule of three when it comes to survival. You could survive, for example, the rule of three is anything.
Here's a hot special for all Whitetail Rendezvous listeners. The Hunting Buddy app is giving away an all-expenses paid free-range whitetail hunt at ABC New York Ranch this fall. You'll be hunting with NASCAR driver Spencer Boyd and the Hunting Buddy team, all the while being filmed by a professional film crew from Rush Outdoors, as seen on the Pursuit channel. To enter the contest for free, go to huntingbuddy.app.com. Click the Huge Hunt Giveaway section tab and download the app. When you upgrade to the Outfitter plan, you get 30 additional giveaway entries. Hunting Buddy app is your best choice for staying safe in the woods with their patent-pending safety notification system. So lunar information including peak game, activity times, current and future weather forecasts, land ownership, hunting waypoints, group hunting, and so much more, all for free from Hunting Buddy app. That's HUNT apostrophe N BUDDY app.
Survival could be broken down into three pieces. You look at SOS, it's 3. If you have a boat that's in distress, you blast the horn 3 times. If you're in the woods and you have a whistle, it's 3 blows of the whistle. If you have a reflective mirror, it's 3 flashes. But it gets more encompassing than that. So you can survive 3 minutes without air or oxygen. So there's that component. Again, 3 minutes. 3 hours without a shelter, right? If you're in a harsh environment, unless it's icy or something along those lines. But in 3 hours, you definitely need to make sure that you have a shelter built. It's 3 days without water. But the water that you're drinking, make sure that it's clean, right? So you got to learn how to filter it out, whether it's through desalination, charcoal, whether you're boiling it. You got to make sure that the water you drink is clean. But again, it's only 3 days. Or it's 3 weeks without food if you have the water in the shelters. So to kind of circle it all in, I mean, you're looking at 3. When you're building your survival fires or your signal fires, 3 big fires. If you're looking at any other signaling, you're 3 rock formations or something. You always got to factor in 3. So if you just remember the 3 minutes, 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks, as well as 3 fires or 3 blasts of a horn or something, you're going to get along fine. I mean, just stay calm. Spend the energy that you need to, whether it's building a shot or a shelter or a fire, remaining that calm, because the minute you start panicking, you're going to be burning a lot more calories. If you start freezing, how to keep yourself warm, and building fire. I mean, fire is obviously very, very important, but it's building the right fire. So your signal fire has to be different from your campfire, and making sure that you have the different skills to be able to start that fire if your lighter fails or if you don't have any matches or anything along those lines. Being able to start a fire and be comfortable and build the right shelter for the right condition. The biggest thing is just remain calm, but remain confident, and you'll make it through a lot. You'll surprise yourself for sure.
Thanks for that. When you think about going out hunting and let's just switch it to whitetail, what makes them such a exciting hunt?
I just love whitetail hunting. Mule deers and blacktail, are definitely always fun, but the whitetails, just you see a big boomer come into the clearing and he's measuring out at say 170, and he just comes out through the brush. And just see him standing there, and it's just that sense of pride, and just to have that cottontail. I mean, for me, it's kind of cool seeing that bound. It's like a big rabbit that could kill you. Um, it's something beautiful about a whitetail. To me, that's the prototypical deer. You have that nice white rump and the big wide rack, and it's. I mean, don't get me wrong, the meat's delicious. It looks great hanging on your wall. Um, but to a whitetail hunter, it's exciting. I mean, you can kind of gauge. I break down my hunt seasons into phases, and I kind of take those phases and kind of adapt them into real life. And it's kind of funny watching a deer when they're in rut and remembering me when I was dating, um, breaking through a lot of those phases within the rut, and you're seeing the exact same thing when you were that young buck, that young stud, trying to get out there and meet a doe. And it's kind of fascinating to me. And I've always been a whitetail hunter. I mean, we have them on our ranch. And Alberta's known for a lot of good whitetails, and it's to me, it's a symbol of what hunting is. You can get them with a bow, you can get them with a crossbow, muzzle loader, rifle. It's a good starting hunt, but it's also a great finishing hunt as well.
Now, what's your favorite technique hunting whitetails?
To me, it kind of really all depends on the season. So earlier on in the season, I try and look a little bit more with the rifle. Um, bucks are a little bit more aggressive at that point. So the last thing I really want to do is be sneaking up 15 yards on a buck and drawing a bow. So I tend to stick with a lot more rifle leading up to kind of that point. Later on in the season, where I kind of get that secondary breeding, with the fawns or a couple of the older, mature, maybe not as randy bucks. I like getting out there with the bow and either getting up in the stand or spot and stalk. So for me, it's kind of all depends on the season for me and when in the season it is.
So how many tags can you get? Can you get multiple tags?
Yeah, so you can get your trophy deer. So you can get a trophy whitetail, you can get a trophy mule, trophy elk, sheep, whatever you kind of want. So you have to draw for that, or you can get your general deer, and that's 3 tags that you could fill. General mule or general whitetail. But you got 3 that you could fill if you just go with your general.
So you could get, as a resident, you can get 3 whitetail tags.
Yeah, and then as well as a trophy tag. So if you got a trophy whitetail buck, and then you can do your general as well. So.
And trophy, is that for a specific area up there, or why do they designate as a trophy?
Well, it's pretty much anything that you would hang on a wall, pretty much. So anything measuring over 140. Whereas general, you can kind of go after doe or a buck. But yeah, you have to apply for your tag in certain wildlife management areas or units, I should say. So you got to apply for that trophy in say 314. You apply for that trophy. If you don't get drawn for that trophy out of that WMU, you're not going out and hunting for a trophy in that one.
So you're gonna have
Alberta, it's very different.
So the general license is under 140, class deer.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, you can go out and you can get a pretty good trophy for sure out of it. Me, I don't hunt for the trophy. I hunt for the meat. It's always nice getting a nice buck for sure, but I'd much rather be able to put food in the freezer and actually use that animal. Its hide, I'll tan an animal with its as gross as this is, with its brain. I'll do my own using all that animal. So for me, I don't really care about the trophy. It's kind of nice to have a couple wall hangers for sure, but I'd much rather eat a backstrap than dust a deer head.
So of all the animals that you can hunt in Alberta, and you got slews of them, what's your favorite?
I love hunting elk. I love hunting elk. Just to hear that bleat and just seeing that huge herd, and the thing is just an absolute monster. And there's tons of them when you look at a herd of elk. To me, there's nothing really better. I mean, whitetail is great to go out there and go freezer filling. But I mean, if I'm able to get up onto an elk and draw down on my bow through a spot and stalk, or look through my Leopold right at them, it's just beautiful with the big broad shoulders on them, and back straps are some of the best you'll ever eat. But I love going after elk. But I mean, I'm pretty nondescript. I'll do a pack hunt for sheep in the Rocky Mountains. I'll go after bear, upland game birds. I mean, we got a bunch of ducks. Our area alone is in Alberta. It's about 85% you're able to hunt on within Alberta. So you kind of nailed it there. We're able to really explore a lot of options. We got turkeys, we got boar, we got grizzly, we got black bear, we got brown bear, we got whitetail, antelope. We're pretty fortunate in Alberta for sure.
You got buffalo
Oh,
too, don't you? Woodland buffalo.
we're just starting to reintroduce it in the north. That's a very selective tag right now for sure is the buffalo. But yeah, we do have buffalo for sure. They're wild right now. They are kind of protected, but they're starting to release all the tags.
So it sounds like you know, it's hard to fit in work with your hunting schedule because you could start probably in August and finish up in January.
Well, they just released our tag draws now in Alberta for sure. Our hunting season is not as long as a lot of people think. For just general ungulates, so your deer, your elk, your antelope, that ends end of November. We can't go into December when it comes to that. In predator hunting and bird and everything along those lines, we're able to take it a little bit longer. But when it comes to deer season, it's very, very short. We only get a very small window. So you definitely got to cram in kind of as much as you can if you have that trophy, if you have your general. Once November 30th hits, it's pretty much over for us.
Now, don't people hunt moose in December, or is that over? Or
No, again, that's another one. So any four-legged hooven animal, it's pretty much done end of November, and then it goes into the bear, the cougar, your bird for sure, and it kind of expands a little bit more. Boar hunting as well. So but yeah, when it comes to anything with a rack, you're pretty much hooped at the end of November.
wow,
Yeah.
in some places, we have elk hunt in January for the kids. Here in Colorado, we do that.
Looks like I got to move then.
I don't think so. Plus, you're too old.
Well, that's okay. I'll fake it. I'll save the beard, and I look about 6, so we're good to go.
So, a lot of people ask me, they'll send me emails or place a phone call, say, Bruce, how'd you get into podcasting? That, I share with them. But I've done some writing as you have, and you're doing some work and sending some work over to the UK. So let's talk about that part of your career and how that helped share, by you sharing stories, helps people get involved in the outdoors.
Right. So this whole sort of path where we are today started a little over a year ago. I started up on a website called National Pro Staff. It was kind of the premier social media page for solely fishermen. And I thought, okay, there's not really a whole lot that's really out there geared specifically for like-minded individuals. I mean, there's tons of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, but this is solely based for an outdoorsman. So I joined up on that and, just didn't really think anything of it and put a post here, a picture here. But then a lot of interest really started coming into play based off of that. So I put together a content schedule with recipes and tips and, different fish profiles and try to get as much information out there as I can. And it just kind of exploded for me. So within the first 3-4 months, I had over 30,000 views. And then the sponsorship opportunities kind of rolled in. So I had an opportunity with Ardent, which I'm still with to this day. Elite Catch Baits, Terrace Fishing Apparel. They just kind of all started rolling in based on kind of what I've been kind of getting out there. And they saw the ability to kind of promote properly and get people interested in it. And it was evident there with the 30,000 views. So I thought, this is kind of going somewhere. I kind of wanted to diversify it because I was more than just an angler. I was the woodsman. I was out there making my own knives or, romping around and eating mushrooms that I found. So I kind of wanted to build upon that. So kind of took it quiet there for a little bit and kind of shut down while I was kind of going through this rebrand phase. And then we kind of launched Be a Lion Outdoors with the hunting component, with the fishing area, with the bushcraft and survival, as well as the fitness. And it really kind of took off. And I got in touch with this website magazine publication. It's kind of fledgling right now, but called Outlook EXO. And they wanted me to kind of help them out with kind of a series about getting youth out interested in the outdoors, but we wanted to gauge the interest on it. So I invited them to go to the website and check it out, and they actually found 2 of my articles that they wanted to promote. One of them was called The Next Generation, and it was kind of a homage to my dad, and it was all about getting kids more interested in the outdoors, kind of raising that next crop, because you and I, Bruce, we're not getting any younger. I mean, we're not going to be here to do it for forever. So it's instilling that feeling of conservation and that responsibility into the youth. and the importance upon it, right? Building that ethic and that ethos of the woods into kids. So that one got published there a couple of weeks back, and then the second one was the Rule of Three, or Three's Company, and that one's all about the rules of three with survival. So those kind of got published, and it kind of really took off. I had the opportunity to get onto another podcast, Wilderness Attitude. Had a good chat with a fellow Colorado native there, and had a good chat with him, and it just kind of really exploded to me, and I didn't expect it to. My whole message was just to get people excited and preserving the woods, and understanding that those of us that go out there and take animals aren't the monsters that you're being portrayed to be. I mean, you had Cecil the lion, for example, and it was a huge uproar. I mean, that was a CNN top story for a long, long time. The battles of guns right now. Everybody's kind of going after firearms, saying that if you own a gun, you're going to be that guy that's going to go out there and shoot up a public space. And we needed kind of more of that voice, and I kind of fell into that niche and kind of fell into that ability that I had that voice, and people were really receptive of it. So for me, it just kind of built upon telling people how to make different trout recipes, or how to fish for barracuda, or hey, we're going to the Dominican, this is how you take care of your rods and reels in salt versus spring water, for example, or river water. So it really took me by surprise. So I'm pretty humbled to be out there and do it, and learn from gentlemen such as yourself, and through a lot of my own media and reaching out and talking to people. It's really flabbergasted me in how quickly it's taken off, but how humbling it really is as well. I mean, I didn't get into this for fame. I didn't get into it for anything other than just to get people excited about the outdoors. So I'm really happy that I'm able to do that.
Yeah, and I'm sure as heck happy, we connected, because, listening to you, to your voice, and a lot of people I've had on the show, I said, you got to find your voice. Obviously, you found your voice, and it's within every single person that's listening to this to find their voice, whatever that is, because everybody's not going to be the headliner or the A-lister, and they're all out there. Everybody knows their name, but your voice, CJ's voice, is going to reach the exact people that it needs to reach. That's what I believe. That's the big thing about our podcast. My voice is going to touch the people. They're going to hear what they need to hear from the people, from my guests, and then I'm like a conduit. I'm like the guy that flip the switch. Okay, we'll get somebody on, because there's a lot more eloquent and funnier guys doing podcasts in the world, because there's millions of podcasts. But that doesn't matter. Spending an hour with you tonight, it just makes me think and reflect, and to know that there's another person out there that is like-minded. We're on common ground, and we're going to make a difference.
Absolutely. I mean, and my voice, like, I've never done a podcast before. The one a couple weeks back, I've never done it. I've listened to them, right? I've heard that conduit. I mean, we've all kind of heard about Joe Rogan and all the different hunting podcasts and everything that's out there, but I never thought it would happen to me, right? So, I mean, you call yourself a conduit, but you're kind of the catalyst. I don't know if I'd go catalyst or, just kind of that conduit. I think without guys like you that are going out there and getting voices out there and sharing their own stories as well as those of their listeners, I think that's incredibly important. And whether it is a podcast, whether it is writing, whether you have a TV show, and it doesn't have to be about the outdoors. You just need to be able to find your voice. I mean, it could be music, it could be sports, it could be art, it could be whatever it is. We were just fortunate enough to have our voice being out in the wild and connected. And it's amazing what happens once you're able to link up with like-minded people. And like I said, I don't want people to think that what Bruce is saying is the gospel. What I am saying is the law. I mean, I've been skunked more times than I'm willing to admit. I've gone seasons where I've never filled eggs. We see all these Instagram pages and hunting and the outdoors, and you're seeing all these just trophy wall hangers that are out there, or just guys pulling out 12-pound bass and everything. And I'm trying to be real and tell you that doesn't always happen. I mean, I've had a lot of really good seasons. I've had some where I just go home and go, what was that? Like, I could not scrape, I could not bleat, I could not grunt, I could not throw a lure properly. I just could not lock it in. But I still knew that my voice was there, and I still knew that it was passionate. And I think that's probably the most important thing that I really want to share is it doesn't matter if you're not a hunter. It doesn't matter if you're not a fisherman. What matters is that you identify who you truly are. I mean, I was pretty fortunate as a kid to know that I was destined to do work in the outdoors. I was destined to go out there and share stories and blessed with kind of that gift of gab. And I've droned on this podcast quite a bit on a few times. I was blessed to kind of be able to motivate people. And I think once people identify who they truly are, they're able to do that too. And that is the message with Be a Lion is go out there and be relentless and be fearless and take that chance. You never know where it might lead you. I mean, it could lead you onto a podcast. It could lead you onto something bigger, right? But you don't know unless you try.
Before we go, tell people how to reach out to you and get in touch with you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook. It's Be a Lion Outdoors. You'll see a big lion head, and then my logo is actually a deer head with 2 fish hooks coming out through the antlers with CJ Outdoors. You can find me on Facebook there. You can find me on Instagram at Be a Lion Outdoors, or on the website if you want to follow my reading. It's bealionoutdoors.wordpress.com. All my links are all on my social media pages if you're interested, and send me a message. I mean, I'm pretty easy to talk to, and I want to hear from you. So I'm excited to hear from you. I'm sure Bruce is excited to hear from you as well. So get your word out.
And folks, always you can just reach me at whitetailrendezvous@gmail.com or on my website, whitetailrendezvous.com. It's real easy. We're out there. And so, I don't want this evening to end. I wish I was up there.
Well, we'll have to do it again.
No, I wish I was in Calgary. We were going to fish the bow in the morning.
Absolutely. I will be more than happy to take you out there.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, there's great places in the world. But Calgary is a darn fine city, and there's so much recreation, within just hours of that. So with that, enough shout out for CJ and Be a Lion Outdoors and Calgary, Alberta calendar. And this is Bruce Hutchin on behalf of thousands of listeners across North America saying thank you for listening to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. Hey, folks, I'm excited to have our next guest, Fred Eichler. And he's an icon in the hunting world. In 2009, he became the first archer using a recurve bow to take all 29 big game animals in North America. Yes, the Super Slam. So having said all that, you know who Fred is. And if you don't, just Google him. He's got Full Drawer Outfitters here in Colorado and does a heck of a job for his clients. He travels extensively. You can see him at shows. And he's one funny guy. I just really enjoyed meeting with him. We met at 6:30 in the morning and had some coffee and had some chat. And the stories are fantastic. So look forward to you enjoying Fred Eichler up next.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.